So today on Project Shop, we're going to be recovering transformers from some industrial parking lot lights. Got a whole bunch of them that are the same style and a couple of them that are different. They're all pretty much cast aluminum. So what we're going to recover out of here is some cast aluminum and some number 2 insulated wire. Most of the time, the wire that's in these is always number 2 insulated, as you can see by the tin coated wire here. And a lot of them, like you can see this one here, these older ones, they have like a fiber insulation instead of rubber. It's like fiberglass. See that? Or it's something. I don't know what it is. But those are, every one that I have ever come across, they're tin coated or silver coated or whatever that coating is. So that's always number 2. I used to granulate that stuff up and sell it for number 2 chops, which we'll be getting into here shortly. But for now, we're just going to add it with the number 2 that I cut from them transformers. So what I like to do when there's a lot of lights like this that are the same, I'll just completely take one apart all the way down. That way I can see how it comes apart, what tools I'm going to need, and what's going to be the fastest process to get them apart. And then what I'll do is one step to each one all the way down. Now if you had 2 people or 3 or 4 people, you go right down the line, and by the time you get to the end and come back, they're either all the way done, or you just come back and do one more step. And then what's good about doing it that way is when you get to the last one, on the last step, everything's done. Rather than doing, if you sit here and try to do one at a time, that's going to be super tedious, and you're just going to be moving your tools down and down, where you can just have one tool in your hand doing one thing, you know, and then you can just knock them out really quick. So I'm going to put the head cam on real quick, and then we'll open one of these up and see what it's going to take. Okay, we're going to start right here, and it looks like we could either use a Phillips, which we already have on this one here, or a nut driver, but we'll use a Phillips. Always good. A screwdriver is definitely one of your best friends when doing these types of light. Now, a lot of times you could just break these. See how it's already breaking here? And then these might come off easy. We'll stack these to the side and decide whether we're going to actually break the glass or try to unscrew them. I mean, ultimately, if you unscrew them, it's a lot easier and a little less messy. But sometimes the only thing to do is just hit them with a hammer, you know, if the glue's too tough. So we're going to recover some brass breakage, and maybe I'll just pull that off of there sometimes. This is going to be probably, oh, that's stainless. See, it all depends. That's all stainless steel in there. A little bit of glass. Looks like a little piece of copper, maybe. Is that copper? No, that's actually magnetic. That's stainless. This piece here, that's like clear fiberglass, it looks like. That whole piece, except for this piece here. There you go. That's all stainless steel. That's just regular steel. Yeah, you definitely should be wearing gloves when you're messing with these lights. These things usually peel off pretty easy. A little stainless. Yep. And then that there, just put in its own little bucket. I'd actually like to crush a bunch of them up and see how much mercury we can recover. Sometimes, nope, that's steel. I better get a steel bin. That is going to be old sheet. And then we're going to need a star bit. Okay, now usually when I do these lights, I always try to get a big extension with a lockable end because I like to flick my stuff to the side. It helps get everything out much quicker. I don't know what this is, but I'll undo that too. Now look at these transformers, man. This whole inside looks really nice. That's probably a good transformer. So this is pretty basic. I've done many of these style lights, so this is actually going to go pretty quick. Steel rod, more. Now I don't know about your yard, but sometimes this aluminum with this coating on it, they won't take it. It's clean sheet. I'm wondering if I break this off, if I can get clean sheet for this. It really didn't take much to clean that up. Could just drill out those rivets, or that'd take about the same amount of time. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that's just going to be kind of old sheet. Unfortunately, we don't have. We'll just make a stack here. Okay, so now pull that out. That there. You could recover some brass from that. I think I saved a whole bunch of these. I might try to recover the brass out of that. So we'll throw that in there. Throw that with the prepared steel. This will be number 2. Okay, so look at this. If they're all like this, that's a double copper transformer right there. And I'm not going to worry about these 2 bolts because it's just bolting an aluminum bracket to the backside. I'd say that's well within the 3% of allowable steel for cast aluminum. And it's one less step we have to do. And we're getting some nice copper transformers out of that deal. Remove this stuff. Okay. So now let's see if this is going to come right out. Whoop. Now, when I back stuff out, as I'm backing it out and I can feel it getting to the end, I tilt it to the side and I just keep on the trigger and I swipe it. And basically, it kicks the stuff right out. And you can do this with one hand. If you can find a hole. Relatively easy. And then, see this style here, it might come. You want to sit here and play, you're always taking a risk, you know, because you're actually bending the glass, which is kind of hard to do without breaking it, but you can do it. 2 nice pieces of clean cast, and this here, we'll throw with this, and we'll shatter that into a million pieces. All right. So there you have it. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 tools. Okay. And now what we're going to do is just go ahead and I'm going to put the time lapse on, and then I'm just going to run through these real quick, one step at a time. Okay, here we go. So that took about an hour, and it went pretty quick. We got them all cleaned. I'm just gonna flip those over right before I stack them on a trailer. So we got all the cast housings. Got some, I'm just gonna call it old sheet. Some number 2 insulated. There was a little bit in that box, but we did add to it. And then the only problem I had one screw strip. And this is why you should always start with brand new bits, or at least have good bits. This bit's kind of seen better days. But stripping one out of all of these, and this ballast looks burned up. So stripping one out of all these wasn't that bad at all. And these lights were actually in really good condition. The transformers looked really nice. And I guarantee they were all working when they took it down. So in a case like this, where that's stuck, you can do a couple different things. Stick a pry bar in there and just crack it this way. I am going to just drop it on the ground, and hopefully, let's see if I can keep that in view. Pump the glass out. That's it. And then basically, when in doubt, beat it out. I lucked out. It looks like every single one of those that I just pulled out are double copper transformers. So I'm super stoked about that. I'm gonna knock out the rest of this stuff and see how many more we can get up on the table. Okay, let's see what we got next. Now this here looks like it might be a breaker. Oh, we got some extruded aluminum right off the bat. And someone already took most of this apart. Looks like we're just gonna need a big nut driver. And that looks like a copper transformer to me. And then a small nut driver. And then it's an even smaller nut driver for the lens or the glass. Oh, I didn't think that one was going to come out. It did break off in a bit. Same there. Now, when they break off, when the magnetic bits, you don't want to be beating your gun against the table. Just taking. That one's in there. Usually the vibration of you smacking that will send that thing flying. Now, get our screwdriver out here, get a little pressure on the backside. Oh, that's coming right out. Look at that. All right, so that's easier than expected. And there we go. Number 2, copper transformer. Yep. But pretty much that's that. Man, there you go. That was pretty simple. Just cut this. Now that's actually a pretty thick piece of aluminum. That could be considered clean sheet. I'm not sure. Okay, I don't know what's happening with my GoPro 10, but it keeps getting hot to the point where it's just shutting off. Some big old flatheads, Phillips. What do we got here? Flathead. All right. Looks like cast down there. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Simple enough. Okay, that's simple enough. Other than that piece there, I'd say that's ready to go. Got a big old piece of cast in there, but we'll leave it in there because I'm pretty sure sheet aluminum is worth more than cast. So it's probably just half turns. Okay. Usually them ground wires are always #1 copper. If you wanted to get into some micro scrapping, or you're real tedious about your copper, some more of that. A lot of times, it's like that fiberglass insulation on there. A lot of times the, what do you call it? These things here. The sockets, the ceramic sockets with the brass inserts. Most of the time, that's what they have. They always come with that. So you know you're gonna get #2 insulated out of that right away. Okay. Go knock that off in secondary. Okay. That is cast. I mean, you could just, one thing we're missing, I guess we'll just use this one. Just knock that off real quick. Cover that brass later. And that's actually a piece of extruded. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off of there, since it's coming out easy. Bam. See, these lights can get tedious. When you're doing like all different ones. See? Stripped it. I want to try to recover that. I think that thing's gonna come off the top. Oh, see that? Allen screws. This one might be a goner. Although, well, let's see if we can't recover it. Okay, looks like we're left doing it by hand. This is the only one I can find that fit. Now, if I had a lot of these to do and no other choice, I would just cut the end of this off with a cutting wheel and chucked it up in something. All right, it's loose. Now, I definitely wouldn't have sat here and endured this crap with this, doing this by hand. I would have just taken the jaw in here on an angle and cut right through the plastic and separated this thing. But this one here, even though it's scratched up, doesn't have paint. That one's halfway painted. And you know, for a prototype and just kind of proving the concept. I want to be able to, looks like it'll just pop out somehow. You know, experiment a little bit. I don't want to mark this thing up. The other one was already loose. Maybe it just needs a little help from my friend. Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah, look. So that'll clean up nice. That could be the bottom. That's perfect. Wait till you see what I got planned for this thing, man. This thing's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be right up over here somewhere. Bam. It's gonna be crazy. Much better. So, starting to get into this, and these things are looking like extruded aluminum. Look at that. There's a whole bunch of these. Man, I don't see how it pushes out. So this sucks. There's like a bolt down in there in the corner. No way to get it from the outside. The only thing I'm thinking of is maybe cut it with the jaw. Let's try that. Yeah, so I was able to use the jaw and snip it on the outside there. As you can see, you got to get down in there, and an air ratchet or one of those new electric ratchets would probably be the way to go, but I don't have that. I got a jaw. Well, there you have it. That's a nice piece of extruded aluminum. Let's see if I can't speed this process up somehow. All right, let me show you what's happening here. So, because of the way this is, and one jaw being lower than the other, and there's nothing to really grab on this side, it's really kind of difficult to get that first. There it goes. You gotta kind of get it started back here. There it is. Popping it right off, and then it's coming right out. I mean, that's got to be just as fast or faster than unbolting it or use it like a grinder or a sawzall. You got good, clean extruded. All right. Yeah, that would have been real tedious to try to get down in there for that. I don't even know how you would have got in there. So I think this is the right way to do it. Probably would have had to grind or cut or whatever. Got to get it just right. Oh, they got it. If I would have had the little end of the jaw on there, this probably would have been easier. Got these little screws right here. They're not even screwed into nothing. They're just there. What a waste. Okay, now these ones here, I don't need to cut the bracket off. I just need to bend the tab over and it'll go right through my machine. But you got to bend the tab on the bottom. And to me, there's a top and a bottom. The top is where the welds are closer together, and it's like an L on these outer ones, an upside down L. And then the bottom is where they're further apart. The welds are closer to the edge, and it's the top of the T. That inner core to me is an upside down T when it's like that, and it's an L like that. And you can just break them like this. You don't need to do anything really other than use a hammer. But we're gonna run them through the press. Now these here, I didn't grind these because normally you can just shear this. And these here, we'll do this over here. Do this over here. Right. Actually, we'll just do it right here. Back in the day, I used to sit there and cut these brackets with like a Sawzall or a grinder, and I wasted a lot of time and a lot of blades. And I learned one day that you could just shear it off. Best thing to do is just send it hard the first time around before you bend this bracket up at all. And it makes it go a lot easier. All right. Okay, I'll give a quick rundown of the equipment I'm using. So this here originally started out as a 20-ton hydraulic press from Harbor Freight. And this here I built out of a piece of 8-inch wide C-channel and some angle irons and some all-thread and some old core drills from when I used to cut concrete. These were 2-inch core drills that had the same thread as I needed. I basically built that out of what I had laying around. Built this custom. This here is the original carriage that came with the press, but as you can see, it done cracked up, broke. I welded it many times. It's now got 1/2-inch plate on it. Same with the frame structure. It's actually welded in place. I got a reinforcement here. There's a reinforcement C-channel across the top, 1/2-inch plate all the way around right here. And as you can see, it was bowing up. I got the corners gusseted with angle iron, and then there's another beam on that side. Now the hydraulics, originally I was using a 20-ton air over hydraulic pneumatic jack from Harbor Freight. The problem was with the explosive decompression that happens when you're putting 20 tons on a weld and then it just breaks and slams down. The air motor that's in those jacks has a plastic piston or diaphragm, and it would just explode. I would literally have 5 of them brand new under the table because one jack could last 2 transformers or 2 months. You know, it really depended. But what I've done is I've upgraded to a 25-ton Enerpack cylinder powered by a 2-speed 10,000 PSI pump. I think it's like a 1 1/8 horsepower, 110, made in America. This thing, I've had it for years. It's worked flawlessly. It powers both these machines. When this is this way, it's powering that machine. When it's this way, it's powering this machine. Even with 2 people working here, since this machine is so much faster, this one's always pretty much waiting on that machine if you got a good guy on this side. So even though it's 1 pump, you can still have 2 people run this extremely fast. I do have a separate pump for this, but something happened to it. It was a Chinese one with a foot pedal. Worked good. It was really slow compared to this, but you know, it was actually nice not fighting over the handle sometimes. But we'll get back to that. This has worked for years like this, no problem. And then this one over here is a completely custom built press. I built it out of stuff I had laying around. This is just, this was angle iron. I made a box. This is more angle iron. I kind of cut it in there, put some square stock for a guide. This is 2-inch. Originally I made this so it could move up and down. you know, so you can set it for the size transformer, but this was too big. And I was gonna actually put the cup that locks on here, but right now this is what we got. And I actually have 2 rams here. This one's for fast production. This one's, you know, sometimes they get really hard and they don't want to push through. This is I believe this is a 1 ton and this is a 2 ton. All right, so how this thing works is it basically, there's 2 lips here. These things adjust in and out. For me, there's 3 average sizes: big, medium, small. These are 1,000 watts, 400s, and anywhere from like 75 watts. What are these? These are 100 watts up to like 250s, okay? And these 2 sizes, you have to do nothing to the machine. You could just feed them. This side here, you actually got to bring these in close, but it works for them all. And it's very simple and very effective. So basically it's just holding up that middle and giving that center somewhere to drop. And I don't know why, but one side always breaks before the other, probably because this setup is based on a 25-ton press, and it really needs to be a lot bigger. Minimum, I'd say 30 tons if you were going to do this without reinforcing, because I had to reinforce this a lot because it was just tweaking over the years. But this thing's been 10 years, or probably over 10 years now, and still cracks transformers like a pro. Now, if you don't have a fancy press like this, you could do it with just a hammer. And if you'll notice, I have this plate set back, and that's because you want to give that bottom, or I've seen someone, some people beat them the other way. The only problem with that is you're hanging a lot of the transformer way over. I like to do it this way, so you're only hanging the weld, and you want to get that as close to the weld as possible, and it'll just come right off. And then when you get the ends that hang up like that, give it the back of the hammer, and it'll knock it right off. Very easy. This one was actually extremely easy. That's a little rusty right there, but that's all right. And I prefer this hammer here because when you get to the second side over here, this one seems like it's going to be tough because it's rusted in there. Once you get it down in there, you can flip it over, okay? And then you can keep going. Once you get the top off, you can keep going. See that? You don't need nothing but a hammer. And if you don't have something like this, a vise will work just fine. We could add to our number 2 copper now. Now, that's a lot of work. And I'm gonna go back to cracking them with the press. All right, let's step it up a couple notches here. Woo. I feel like we need to shift this over a little bit. Since this always breaks on this side first and rocks the whole transformer, it's kind of sketchy because this thing's actually pressing down on an angle at that point. So we're gonna slide this over. See, we're gonna slide that all the way over. Basically, to one side, right about there. Now what I really need to do is make another one of these jigs out of 1/2 inch plate. And that'll solve, 'cause I think this thing's just flexing around. It's just so worn out. Shit. There we go. Yeah, a little better. Not sliding as much. And these bolts are loose because they're supposed to stop that from kicking up. That was just glue. All right. Okay, this one here had a little tab left. Give it the back of the hammer. Clean that right up. These are the ones I ground. See that? That was kind of dark over there. This is an odd one right here. Now these ones here, I really didn't need to do anything with. You gotta be careful you don't crack your thumb. And then they can go right through the second press. Now a lot of times, let me bring this up a little bit. A lot of times you can grab it like this from the back side with your palm basically, or your fingertips, and hold it on that edge so you're not worried about hitting your thumb doing it like this. You hold it back here like that, you can crack on that pretty good, and you know, less chance of you hitting yourself. See how that got all delaminated? If you just put this thing up on the edge, straighten it out real quick, it makes it easier for that second press. Now, I'm doing this right over the leg because it's to me it's the strongest, and I get the better power delivery. And once you get one side broke, it's pretty much downhill. And putting that little cut on there really helps it out. You can still do this pretty much with one hit without the cut. You just got to hit it really hard and really fast. There you go. Okay, on those little ones that we just did, we can do them by hand. Anything I do by hand, I usually push these plates over to the side so I can keep a little bit of pressure on them because they do slide around. And then these ones here, that's about a little big. These ones here you can just knock right out. Nice little chunk of number 2 copper. Same thing with these ones. Thing's too big. Get in there with a driver. Now the driver's stuck. Huh. Almost. One down, beat it out. All right. Now, we're going to get into hydraulics. And that right there is why I want to put a lock on here. And I got a real simple idea now. If you notice this one here, it's all tweaked up. So, best thing to do is put it in there like this, straighten it out. Once you get it pretty straight, it won't come out by itself. Okay. That would have been a tough one. When you hear that machine kick into low gear, put a lot of pressure on there. I don't have to check them. I do have a file right here for people that work for me. I've done so many of these, I can tell right away by the weight, how it feels, how it sounds. Just let the copper tell you who it is. Some of these, I mean, you can just send it with the hammer. Almost as fast. Then I got this thing right here I use when I need to split them. Just jerk on one. Okay, we knocked them out pretty quick. Filled our bucket right up. I'm gonna say we got maybe 150 pounds in there. Not a lot of aluminum, thank God. So I'm gonna get all this stuff loaded up on the trailer with the other aluminum I got. Take all this stuff to Miami tomorrow. I gotta go buy some copper while we're down there. And then, when we get back, we're gonna get right on this. I wanna get this stuff out of here. Copper's dropping. I want to try to process this stuff while copper's still kind of making it worth it. I got probably close to 2,000 pounds of ballast. Now some of it, small percentage, is going to be electronic drivers. I am going to try to cut some of these open because these things look like extruded aluminum. And it'd be nice to see if we can recover that. I don't think it's going to be worth it, but we're going to try. And a lot of these, they're just like these ones here. They'll go right as the ballast. This one here feels like extruded aluminum. I don't know how easy that'll be to get apart, but some of them, like these, any type of electronic ballast where it says electronic or Quictronic. We're just going to send those, like these type here. We're not going to mess with those. We're just going to separate it and send it. And any of these big ones, like these things are huge and heavy. We'll open a couple of them up and, you know, check the labels, see which one, because some of these, even though they feel heavy, they could have an aluminum ballast in there or aluminum transformer. So we'll figure out which ones are copper and which ones are aluminum, and see what we can recover out of them. Okay, we made it back, and while we were down there, we wound up picking up some more copper, 2 bins of copper wire, a bunch of light fixtures, some extruded, and then I took those fluorescent fixtures for free. Normally I would charge for them, but they didn't want to pay to get rid of them. They said they were going to throw them in a dumpster, so I just took them kind of as a freebie. So it was a sad day for scrapping because we had less than $1,000. Now, I did forget to bring the #1 copper I had laying around that everybody keeps telling me that's #2. And when I was down there, I was going to take a video of their #1 pile to show you guys something. I'll do that next time, but this is what we had. We had old sheet aluminum, 123 pounds, 53 cents a pound. That's down over 10 cents since the last time I was there. $65.19. #2 copper. Now this is really sad. 171 pounds. I said that was probably 150 pounds. $2.50 a pound. That's down $1 a pound since the last time I was there. $427.50. That was our biggest ticket item. Yellow brass. We had 52 pounds. $1.80 a pound. That's down like 40 cents a pound, I think. $93. Small batteries. I had 2 little tiny batteries. 10 pounds, 10 cents was $1. Extruded aluminum, 66 pounds, 85 cents a pound. That is down like 25 cents a pound from the last time I was there. 56.10. And we had #2 insulated wire, 70 cents a pound. That is down 40 cents a pound since the last time I was there. And that was $14. And finally, we had cast aluminum, 697 pounds, 45 cents a pound. That is down 15 cents a pound since the last time I was there. So $313.65 for a total of $971.04. And if y'all got some copper laying around, you better get rid of it now because looks like we're on a downward slope. And this is exactly why I don't like to sit on copper. Now, fortunately for me, all this stuff here I already recovered my money out of, and this is all profit. I worked on this for like 3 different days, but the first 2 days I only got like maybe an hour or 2 hours in, and then the last day was a long haul. I'd say this was a solid full day's worth of work to recover all that stuff and break that stuff down. So if you come this far, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We're about to start stripping some copper wire. I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard. Dancing. You ever seen your copper dancing before?